Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and today on the podcast, we're looking at lockdowns and the effect that they continue to have on the coffee industry worldwide. Before we get started, many thanks to the presenting sponsor of this podcast, the Map It Forward Small Business Mastermind Groups. We are opening up our small business mastermind groups to new registrations. If you are a small business owner and you are looking to either pivot in the way that you're doing business or get some support with the way that you're doing business by being around other people in the industry, or just in general want to get some consulting, and perhaps one-on-one consulting is a little out of your reach price-wise, these mastermind groups are super affordable. You can head to the show notes and click the link, or mapitforward.org/group coaching and check out the details there. If you have any inquiries, please don't hesitate to just reach out via social media at imapitforward. Give us a follow while you're there, and just send us a DM. Happy to answer any questions that you might have. So today's topic, lockdowns. Lockdowns, if you haven't heard, in Australia, we are finally experiencing COVID, particularly here in Sydney. And what we're experiencing right now is we are at the very early stages of a second wave, for lack of a better term, Sydney-wide. So what we're starting to see is that consistently our numbers are around 20 to 30 cases. And we are in at the time of recording this, the end of the first week of our lockdown. Now, what we've started to see here is in alignment with the kinds of things that are happening around the world in countries that are experiencing lockdowns. And what that is that people are starting to get really frustrated with the start, stop of having small businesses in the middle of a pandemic or a lockdown or whatever way you want to term that. Now, the real issue here is compounded by the fact that there's a labour shortage. And the labour shortage that's happening right now means that people are finding more job security in being on either unemployment benefits or working in jobs or in industries where they can work from home. So being able to maintain a sustainable wage is really important for employees. But when we keep getting told to open our businesses and then close our businesses and then open our businesses and close them, the disruption doesn't just happen to the small business owner or to the customer. The customer is going to find alternatives. The small business owner is, super fucked if they don't know how to pivot, unfortunately. But employees are pretty much told that they either have to figure out another job in the meantime, go without a wage if the small business can't afford their wage, or if they're a casual employee, or alternatively go on unemployment benefits. And that's proving to be, it seemed fine the first time it happened. But now that we're getting into second, third, and fourth lockdowns, depending on what country you're in, it's just becoming too much. And I am now seeing that we're getting to the point where even successful businesses are just so disrupted by this that they've decided to close, whether permanently or just for the entire lockdown, rather than trying to pivot again and again. And this fatigue that we're starting to experience and see is going to have long-term ramifications for our industry, and it's going to make our industry look different. I don't think I've spoken to a single business owner that isn't over it. They're just over it. whether they're doing well or whether they're not doing well, the disruption is difficult to pivot to, let alone the disruption of trying to start a business in this climate. All of it seems exhausting. And so I wanted to offer a couple of words of encouragement. If it wasn't a pandemic, if it wasn't, the labor forces going into, a shortage, or it wasn't the current inflation that we're seeing, it's a number of things all the time in small business. And so while I have an astronomical amount of empathy for anyone who's experiencing difficulty at this time, or just feeling the intensity of the fatigue and lack of stamina for continuing to keep going, I'm right there with you. It's exhausting. Adapting and readapting and pivoting and doing all these things is just simply exhausting. And I really am right there with you. But this is small business ownership. Far too often, we expect small business to be a lot easier than the slog actually is. And in a coming episode, we're going to talk about the success fallacy in the coffee industry. But for now, I just want to let you know that if this is a little too hard right now, find a way to simplify. It's something that we're telling everybody in all the mastermind groups. Make what you're doing as uncomplicated as possible. Cut anything out that's just too much right now. And streamline as much as you can. If you have a hugely extensive menu that you're offering, perhaps this is the time to wind it back and get back to basics. If you aren't looking at how you can automate or take things online, now's the time to do that. If you don't know how to do that, get in touch with us. We've helped many businesses figure that out, and it's at the fee of $100 a month, which is what the mastermind group costs. So there's a lot of help out there. We're not the only ones that can help you with this, but we definitely are one of the people or one of the groups that can help you with this, with a specialty in coffee small business ownership. Our network is vast, and we can put you in contact with many, many people that you need access to through this time. The takeaway from what we're all experiencing right now is reassessing what we really value as important in our business, what we want to be doing and what we don't want to be doing. I know people who have had businesses for 15 years that are just saying, this has really helped me realize like my time in the coffee industry is done, and they want to go out on a high note, and they're just closing their businesses. That may be you too. There's no shame in it at all. What there is, not shame in, but what there is, what I would hate to see is people stay longer than they need to in a business that's going under. There's a time when you can leave with dignity, and then there's a time when you're leaving that's taking you into deeper debt than you need to be. Look after you. While looking after your staff and your customers, you cannot discount you in that scenario. You are as important as everybody else. This business has a service to you before it has a service to anybody else. So self-care is what I want all of us to be focusing on right now. This is not the end of the lockdowns. In a future episode coming up, we're going to talk about the Delta variant and whether we should be preparing as an industry for what's happening with this Delta variant. It's absolutely affecting the Australian coffee industry and the Australian economy worldwide, and we're at the very early stages of that. With countries like America open, completely open. is the Delta variant going to affect that very much? Stay tuned and we'll talk about that in a future episode. These podcasts put a lot of effort into preparing for them and creating them. So I'd be really grateful if you could like or rate this episode, whether you're watching it or whether you're listening to it through your podcast listening apps. Give us a like and a subscribe wherever it is that you're consuming this content, and please tell your friends about it if you have found it helpful. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Take care of each other and have an amazing rest of your day.